All right, everybody's favorite topic on this channel, at least mine anyways, as I always say, market statistics. So what happened in April of 2021 in the Edmonton market and the Greater Edmonton market? Well, that's exactly what we're getting into this video. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Mike Banks. I'm a licensed real estate professional here in the Edmonton market with the Terry Prentice Real Estate Group and RE/MAX Excellence. Guys, if you have any questions whatsoever, call me, email me, text me, however you prefer to communicate. My contact information will be in the description below. Now let's get right into it. As always, I like to make this visual, and these market updates have been a little bit too long. I think the last month's video was like 17 minutes. It's too long. You guys have better things to do. So we're going to shorten it up and make this really short and sweet. So let's get right into it right now. So as always, everybody's favorite topic is price. That's typically all they really care about. And as I always say too, these average numbers, I mean, they're good, but they're skewed sometimes. But anyways, average selling price in the Edmonton market specifically was $389,000, and that's for all real estate. A little bit of a month-over-month decline, but a year-over-year gain. Now, if you get into single-family specific, $470,000 was the average selling price. Again, another month-over-month decline and a strong, healthy year-over-year gain. Now, these year-over-year gains, they're pretty much irrelevant because not fast forward, rewind back to April of 2020 and what was going on. We were right in the depths of the lockdowns and the shutdowns and the pandemic and everything just being basically ground to a halt. So these year-over-year gains, especially when you see them over here, like these massive triple-digit numbers, honestly, just forget it. Like, they don't really matter, to be honest. They're fun to talk about in the media. The media loves talking about them, but who really cares, because we're comparing them to basically everything being ground to a halt last year. So condos, average price $222,000, small monthly gain, a month-over-month gain, and a small year-over-year gain. And then duplex row houses, again, another small month-over-month decline and a year-over-year increase. Now, these average numbers, again, like I said before, I'm not a huge fan of them, because let's jump over to, oops, I'm on the wrong application there. Let's jump over to this window here, because the HPI, this is a much better indication of home prices in the market versus month over month and monthly averages, right? So the benchmark price in Edmonton was $325,000, which was a month over month increase and a year over year increase as well. Because look, see what I mean? Look at these differences here between the benchmark HPI price and then the average price. So like I said, the averages are a little bit skewed. And then if you look down in the individual single families, month over month increase, year over year increase, again, we're seeing different numbers, right? Same with apartments, same with townhomes. The HPI is a much better indication of what is going on with real estate prices and real estate values, because it's tracking all of the MLS data, which is the majority of where the sorry, got to turn off my phone. It's the majority of where the activity in the real estate market is happening. And the HPI is cool because it basically tracks the change. So if a house was sold, say 5 years ago, and then it was sold again today, it's tracking that difference and it's seeing what is happening. It's like I said, it's a much better indication. So I should clarify as well. It's tracking the exact same house. So if a house at 1234 Main Street sold for $300,000 in 2015, and then it sold for $350,000 in 2021, it's tracking that and it's showing that gain of that exact house, not a bunch of random houses, right? So with averages, you could have potentially big sales one month and then, not big sales, sorry, but a lot of sales of very expensive homes, whereas the next month you have a decline in the sale of expensive homes. So that skews the averages. Again, guys, I said I was gonna make this short and sweet. So let's dive into the real numbers that actually matter. And that's this section here, because this determines the health of the market and what type of market that we're in. By the way, if you want a more thorough explanation of the three types of markets, a seller's market, a balanced market, and a buyer's market, I'll link to this video right here. You can check that out. So we'll dive right into it, right? The first statistic that we really heavily rely on as real estate professionals is sales to new listings. Now, and that's taking this number, 1,934, dividing it into 3,205. Basically taking all the sales for the month and dividing it into how many listings came on the month. When you take that number, we have 60.3%. So we've just edged into a seller's market. Generally, 60% and above is considered a seller's market with sales to new listing ratio, depending on who you speak to. So a strong month-over-month increase of sales. But here's the thing that not a lot of people are talking about, right, in the media, and a lot of real estate professionals aren't even talking about, is this number right here. So we have double digits month-over-month sales growth, but we also had double-digit month-over-month new listings coming onto the market. And again, nobody's really talking about this, but yes, we're having lots of sales, but we're also seeing a lot of homes come onto the market. And that's because when people are hearing that, hey, you know, everything's on, the real estate market's on fire and my home is selling for a lot of money and really, really quickly, people hear that and they start to think, maybe I should list my home. Or, you know, people that tried to sell last year or the year before, maybe I should list my home. So all of this inventory is coming on, and it's a real struggle and a real fight going on right now between the inventory and the buyers. And you know what? Guess who always wins in this scenario? Eventually, the inventory is going to win because it's just going to keep coming on as it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, basically. It just keeps adding fuel to the fire. As people hear more and more about how hot the market is and how much homes are selling for, more and more sellers come onto the market and buyers start to back away a little bit. So again, it's always a never-ending battle going on between these two sides, and the sellers usually always win in this scenario. Actually, I should say that the buyers always win because eventually it'll swing back to a buyer's market. That's what I meant to say. And I'm going to actually be doing a video about that on this channel as well. I'll link it right here if it's up on the channel. So the other thing that we want to look at too is month over month, things can change, right? We got to extrapolate this data out a little bit more. So I like to look at the total sales for the year, and the sales to new listing ratio for that is a little bit of a different picture. So 5,477 divided into 9,776 is a sales to new listing ratio of 56.6%. So if you look at the whole year so far, it's still a balanced market. But the month of April specifically, just barely a seller's market, which is probably a lot different than what you have been hearing, isn't it? People have been crying. I hate to say this, but it's mostly my colleagues. It's mostly these real estate agents. They've been kind of like whining and crying since January, basically. Even actually before that, like November, December 2020. It was, oh, it's a seller's market. It's a seller. It hasn't been. It just became one now in April. And it's just barely one. Just barely. When we look at the whole market as a whole, right? Don't get me wrong. Certain pockets of the city are, yes, going to be a hot seller's market. Desirable areas like Bonnie Doon, Ritchie, these hot little pockets, right? Glenora, Grosvenor, Inglewood, all these little pockets are going to be very, very active and a different story than this overall picture. But the whole market as a whole is just barely, as for this statistic anyways, just barely a seller's market. Now, when we look at the year over year growth, again, these triple digit numbers, just throw them out the window. I'm not even going to talk about them because we're comparing them to April 2020, which was a crazy month. Now, the next statistic that we use is months of inventory. So taking all of the inventory on the market, dividing it by how many sales were for the month, and that basically tells you how long it would take to absorb all of this inventory. So 5,425 divided by 1,934, we get a months of inventory of 2.8, which again is just barely a seller's market. Generally, 3 months and less of months of inventory is considered a seller's market. So again, not the typical story you're hearing, right? Everybody's crying, it's this crazy seller's market, crazy red hot seller's market. But by these standards, it's just barely a seller's market, and it just barely became one in April 2021, 4 months into the year. Again, another statistic. We look at average days on market. This number just keeps going down. 30 days on market this year compared to 55 last year for single families. Same thing, same story all across the board, right? You guys can see this on my screen here. Everything is decreasing. So that is the city of Edmonton. Let's jump over to the Greater Edmonton Area, which includes all of these markets, right? All these surrounding areas like Beaumont, Bonaccord, Morinville, Redwater, rural Parkland County, rural Strathcona County, Sherwood Park, Spruce Grove, St. Albert. Now, we're going to see a different story here because this is including a lot of really hot pocket markets like St. Albert, for example, where I actually live. Where I like to focus a lot of my business as well. St. Albert is very active right now. So similar story here with prices. We'll just go through these quick. The average Price for all residential was $390,000. Again, a small month-over-month decrease. Year-over-year, again, who cares? Average single families, $458,000. Very tiny gain for month-over-month. Prices year-over-year, again, strong double-digit growth, but it doesn't really matter considering what we're comparing it to. Condos, small, tiny little decline month-over-month, and then duplex row housing's tiny little decline as well. And again, both month-over-month, year-over-year increases. So let's jump over to, wrong one, sorry guys. Let's jump over to the HPI, because again, this is a more accurate reflection of pricing versus, just average sale prices for the MLS. So this is, like I said before, this is tracking multiple houses. It's tracking the whole market, and it's tracking the same house, how many times it's sold and what it's sold for. So just much more accurate overall. And again, you see a different story here, right? Month over month, benchmark price was up as well as the year over year, whereas the average sales price month over month was down versus, double digit year over year gain. So if we look in the benchmark prices down here for single families, we're seeing a month over month increase in pricing of 2%, year over year 8.4%. Apartments, again, month-over-month increase, small year-over-year gain, and then townhouses, small month-over-month increase and a small year-over-year gain. So let's go back to, again, the main numbers. Now, taking the sales to new listing ratio for the month, 2,868 divided into 4,406, and we get 65%. So pretty strong. Now we're starting to edge into a little bit past just barely a seller's market and into more of a definitive seller's market with that one. But year over year, pretty similar story actually, 8,071 divided into 13,000 sales, and we have 62% for the sales to new listing ratio when you take out the whole year. And again, look at these insane absolute triple digit sales growth, but we're comparing it to last year, which doesn't really matter, and then same things with the new listings. And like I talked about with the Edmonton market, guys, it's the same thing. We're seeing strong listing growth. Not a lot of people, like I said before, not a lot of people talking about this. So yes, there's a lot of sales, there's a lot of activity, but those listings, that inventory is keeping up. It's just keeping on its heels, and like I said, that battle will go on till eventually the listings will outweigh the buyers. Or prices will just get too high and buyers will just say, forget it, we're going to wait this out, and they'll just sit on the sidelines, keep renting or stay where they are, whatever may happen. Months of inventory is 7,034 divided by 2,868, and we have 2.45 months of inventory for the whole Greater Edmonton Area market. Similar trend here with days on market. This year compared to last year, decreasing quite a bit. 30 days, that's getting low. Condos, not quite the same, but still a significant improvement from last year. Duplex row housing, same thing. Same story, guys. Everything is decreasing. So how does this compare to the month before? Well, in March, for the Edmonton market, we saw a sales new listing ratio of 56.5%, whereas this month we're seeing 60%. So we are kind of trending up, and like I said, calling it now, we're officially in a seller's market as of April 2021. All the months before that, don't listen to people's photographers. I talk about that on this channel. I talked to one colleague who said that it's a seller's market because his photographer is so busy. It's like, no, dude, that's not how professionals operate. And that's not how the real estate market works. Photographers don't determine we're in a seller's market because they haven't been this busy in years. That's just not how it works. It works with this stuff. The numbers and the facts, which is what you're always going to get on this channel, is the truth about the market and truth about real estate. So guys, again, if you have any questions, call me, email me, text me, however you prefer to communicate. If you're buying, selling, investing, whatever you're doing with real estate, I'd love to talk to you and love to help you out. My contact information will be in the description below. And if you like this kind of content, make sure you subscribe to this channel, hit that bell notification for more updates like this. I'll see you in the next video.